The first thing to think about is this is tuned to an open E chord. So it's E, and then you got to bring the A up to B, got to bring the D up to E, got to bring the G up to G sharp, and then the B and the E stay the same. So E, B, E, G sharp, B, E. So you got to have that tuning. That's the tuning I'm going to do the rhythm and the slide in. So the first riff is, in this tuning, you're going to be 10th fret on the A to the 8th fret on the D and back, and then the 10th fret on the D string. So a 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 10 to 9, 10 to 8. And then we're going to do this rhythm here. Now in this tuning, we're going to have 10s on the big 2 strings into the 12 on the A string. That's the D chord. We're going to go down to the G chord down here. So 2, 3, and. Twice on the D, and twice on the G, twice on the D, A, G, D. And at the end, you're going to hit those big 3, 4s, and 5s. 2, 3, and. So first we had that riff, and then he comes in with. Okay, so some main things we need to know about slide if you didn't already. You want to have, you play your notes on the actual, above the actual fret, right above it, and you don't press down like you would to get a note. You don't go in between the frets, you go right on top of the fret. And you want to have these fingers behind the slide touching the strings so they're dampening things and getting you the best tone. On your right hand, you want to have whatever string you're playing. Say I'm playing the 3rd string. I want to have other fingers surrounding the other strings so they're all muted. So it's all very clean. And when I switch strings, I switch which finger I'm playing with primarily, and I have fingers muting all around that. So there's no noise, and you could get heavy with notes, and you can get big vibrato because you have all these things dampened and muted. So the first thing we're going to have, the band hits that, and then you come with. So that's sliding into the G string on the 10th fret. So after I hit that 10th fret, I'm going to do like 4th string into 3rd string. A little slide down. So, and then I'm going to go. So that was like a 10 to 8 on the D down to that 10 on the 5th string. That's our first riff. Then we're going to have. So we're sliding into the 10 of the B string, and then 2 10s on the small string. Sliding to 8 to the 10 on the 2nd again. And then you go. So you go all the way to the 15, all the way to the 13. And you go down the 10 to 8, 10 on the second, back to 10. So we got. And whenever you have time, you want to get some vibrato on these things. So if you had time on that first one, even a little bit of a shake gives you a lot more kind of finesse, makes it sound real cool. So whenever you have time, and you want to be like equal parts on each side of the fret, because your fret is your in tune point. So you don't want to lean too far to either side, because your most in tune point is most right around that fret. So. Da 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 da. Now that one we're going to lay on the 9 and slowly go to the 10. So after we do that slowly thing, we're going to go into the 10 again. And that's that D string to A string. So once again from the top. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Now we're going to have into the second string 10. So we go into the 10, 10 on the G, and then we're going to slide down that B back to that 10 again. So the same thing twice. And you can hear him get a little grit where he gets a little chord going on that second one. So that's where if you let them ring together a little bit, then we're going to have a. So we're going to go 10, kind of like to the 9, not all the way to the 8. It's more of an effect of a trailing, descending thing than actually hitting a particular note on the way down. So it's all 4 strings. So once again from the top, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Second string. And then we're going to come in with. So we're sliding into that 10 on the second string. We're getting that 10 to 8 on the little string down to 10 over here. So. And then we're going to have. So we got. So we had the high thing, 15, 13. Kind of a double 10, 8, 10, 8. And then we're going to go to that 13 there. Maybe a slight slide up at the end of that thing. So then we're going to have this chord. That's where we can go all those kind of like 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. Go 9s into 10s. So let's go back from the top. Here's our new thing. So we go up on the 2nd string. So up, down, down again. So that's a little 8, 9, 8 to the 10 on the D. So this one. So we go into the second string, third. So we go down on the 10 to 8, 10, 10, 8 to 10. Then we're gonna go. So that's 10 on the D to 8 on the B and back to the 10. Sliding 8 to 10 there. And then we got, so sliding into 10s, back into 10, 10. So small strings on both of those. And then G string. So we got that same. 15, 13. And then that downward. There we go. So 8, 8, 8, 10, 10. 10 on the G. 10 a couple times on the A string. So that kind of ends with a third string, 10, 10 in the second. Then you got here's a good one. So we got. So we got these slides on the. And then we go into that 5 chord note at the top there. So we got. So that's the D power chord here, 10 and 12 and the 2 big strings, going into the pinky on the A string, the 5th string on the 14th fret. So we got bump, that's our basic little strum pattern there. We're going to go down to the 3rd fret, the G. Then we're going to come back up twice. Back down to G twice. Back up. Now our turnaround is going to be the 5th fret, the A to the G, D, and then 3, 4, 5 with our power chords there, G, G sharp, and A. So let's try that nice and slow. 2, 3, 4. Down to G, back to D twice. And this is a 12-bar blues. Down to G, 2 times, back to D. Turnaround chords, the A, down to G, to D, turn around. And these chords also have, that's the 1, this is the 4, this is to the 1, do that twice. Go to the 4, do that twice. Back to the 1, 5, 4 chord, 1 chord, turn around to the 5. So that's basically what's happening in Statesboro blues. You could do solos in the D minor. D minor pentatonic kind of scale. Now Dickey Betts is going to be using a lot of the major pentatonics, kind of the happy blues. So Dickey Betts' solo is going to come in with. Okay, so that's the first half of it. So we're bending the G string 9th fret with the ring finger to start with. And then we're jumping down to the 7th fret of the little E string there. So we're jumping over that B string. When we come to the B string, we're going to hit a 10th fret with the pinky down here, 2nd string. So we got. And then we have a new phrase. So it's 7 and 9s. Da 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 da. And then a bend again. Okay, so that's a series of the same riff. But he's kind of rhythmically spinning it around itself. So. So here goes that first part of that solo again. So when you slide up that 7, you can go to the 10 on the 2nd string, 13, part of a D minor scale, to the 10 down here, the D, and then you're going to kind of hit that 12, which is kind of from a major pentatonic. So we got. So it's like bum, 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 bum. So we got all that going on. So So we got dun, dun, double. And then at that point, we're going to come up here to the 17th. So we're bending that up. We got the pinky underneath it on the 17th. Kind of a downwards bend there. Come down to this one. And then the little one here is 17th. And then 2nd string. So that was 13, 12, 11, and 10. And then 12 on the G. Back to a couple on that 10. So once again, we got. Now the second half. So let's take a look at that. So we got. So we're bending that 13 of the second string into the 10 of the first string. So quick to the bend down there. So we got a boom, 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 and then we go. So 13, 14, 15. So bunch of bends. Da, 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 da. So that's just a. And the second time adds an extra note or so. Bends. Okay, so that's the turnaround. So we got hammer there, half step. 13, 12, 11, 10. We got a 10 here, pull off 12 to 10 on the G. Hammer into the 11. 12, 12 on the A. So we got. So let's take a look at that Dickey bet solo one more time. This is going to be a lesson on Stormy Monday Blues by the Allman Brothers. This was originally written by T-Bone Walker. Interesting chord progression on this one. It kind of modulates out of key as it goes. It has some chromatic chords and stuff like that. So our first thing is this is... A lot of people might not know this shape of a G9 chord. So there's this G9 up here, like a funk chord up here. Now if you were to play that with your bass note on the big string, it comes out with a G, and then skip the A, mute the A, and then go 3, 2, 3. So you have this 3, 2, 3 shape in there with your bass. You don't always need that. You can do your thumb on the bass too. Kind of see it better that way. 3, 2, 3, going from the D down to the B string. So you got the G bass, muting the A, muting the little E. So it kind of starts out with a little thing like. So we kind of start out with this little piece of this G9 chord. We're going to go down a fret, back up, and then up one, back to the original one. And that becomes an augmented shape right there. That's 5, 4, 3, 3. So we got. Okay, now our progression is going to be like G7 to C7, 9, typical kind of blues thing. But what they have is some sliding like double stops in here that are really cool. So we got. And then one guitar goes. And then the other guitar answers with. and then they switch down to the lower chord. So these are the notes of that G9 and also like kind of G7 type thing. So this is 3 to 5 on the D string, and then 5 on the B string, and then they both slide down to 3s. And then the other guitar goes, does them as like a chord. Then the other one goes. So we went down a string, that matches the notes of this C7-9. And then the answer goes. So let's look at the whole thing we got. So that one had a little trick. A little pull off with the pinky. Back to the first one. Now we're gonna go up 1 fret. So kind of doing like a, to those bottom 2 3s down there. And then hitting that little pinky on there. So that becomes like that 13 chord. Let's see. So we got. Now we have a new progression. This is going to be the A minor 7. So that's a 5 up here with the middle finger. Mute the A and do all 5s all the way down there. That's an A minor 7. Up to B minor 7 on the 7th, and then B flat minor 7. And then we're back to the A minor 7. Then we have a C minor. And then we're going to have this 5, 5, 4, and 6 on the top to get a higher inversion of that C minor. So we got. And then the chords do a typical kind of turnaround. So you could go. But there's also a cool organ riff right here. So let's take a look at that one too. So that's like G7, hitting those 2 top notes there. So that's the little 3s, then the 5s on the 2nd and 3rd string. And you could either go to these 3s here, or you could do a little hammer on that one there. So. Next verse. Do that bass too. Go to the C bass there, G bass, and that's your 3, 4, 5 on the A string to that augmented chord, 5, 4, 3, 3. Got to get that bar going on those 3s. So that's like a 7 chord, just made out to have an extra note in it. A minor 7, B minor 7. Got our C minor, the high note, turn around. And then he'll do one of those blues things there early on. And then later when the solo's happening, he's really in this BB box. So that's where we have that first finger on the 8th fret on the G note of the 2nd string. And using this 9th fret makes it sound major pentatonic already. So you got that 10 that bends a lot. You can bend that 10 up. Get that 8, 10. Tasty sounding BB King type stuff. So you can also bend this note from the pentatonic minor. He gets into that one. Makes it a little more minor sounding. But you can bring it back into that major stuff whenever you want. And then you can always jump up here. Good to know that's where your 5th is for that turnaround. So he's all over the place. He's in the minor up here. But also using some major notes. And then down here, get some minor and major working together. So try out that BB box. And the whole combining major and minor pentatonic everywhere. All right, this is going to be In Memory of Elizabeth Reed by the Allman Brothers. First we have this little chord thing. So what that is a C major 7, 10, 9, 8, 7 to an A minor, 7, 5, 5. You could do the 5 on the bottom if you want. The tab that I'm looking at says just to do those 3 strings, and then same thing on the B minor. So that A minor would be 7, 5, 5, and the B minor would be 9, 7, 7. So we got. Okay, now there's a higher chord. That'd be the Dickey Betts part right there. Now the Duane Allman part would be these 12s. So he's doing an E minor here, down to an A minor. And then this is part of a B minor. This is like 11, 12, 10. Okay, so that kind of harmonizes or does it different inversions with this other one. So we got. Okay, that's the 2 different chord parts, and we're going to get into the melody. So we slide into the 9 on the G, and then we go 8 to 10 on the B. We hold that for a while. So 8, 10, 8. 9, 7, 9 on the G string. So. And then we're going to go 9, 8, 7, 10, and then half step bend on the 7 over here on the 2nd string. So that was half step up, kind of a down, 8, 10 to the 9 right here. So that was. And then we're going to have this riff. Okay, so that was 7 to 5, 7 on the D string, to 5th fret of the G string, 9 right there, 7, 4, 5, 7, and then 5 here, to the 7 on the D, to the 7 on the A. So the whole thing. And it again. Okay, now so what happens is we do that same thing a couple times, and then the Duane Allman part will have some new notes to it, so it'll be... Okay, so it just bends up on that 10 on the B string. 8, 7, 8, 10, 9. So this bend on these 10s is happening when the other one's doing that one, so it becomes a harmony thing there. Okay, so we got... And then we got the same stuff. Okay, so it really does that like 3 times through, and then we're gonna have a different type of ending. Sometimes that'll bend a little bit. So this last time we're gonna have 9 again, 5. That went to the 7 on the D, so we got 9, 5, 7, 4, 5 on the G. So that ends with 4, 5 on the D, 7 on the A, back to that 5 on the D and back. So, and then one of the guitars has this riff: 7, 10, 8, 7, 10, 8, 11, back to the 8, to the 10 here. So, okay, and the other guitar does the same exact riff but on the 10th fret, so it makes it in harmony for that kind of diminished type scale. So you start on the 10, 10, 13, 11, 10, 13, and then 11, 14, 11, back to that 13. So that harmonizes with. Okay, then we get into a new part. So that is 9, 8, 7, 8, 10, 8. And then we got a 9, 7, 10, 7. Okay, so we had, and then 9, 7, 10, 7, so 8, 10 to 9 on the second time. Okay, so we do that whole series twice, and we're going to jump up here to the 12, 11, and 10. So we did the 12, 11, 10, 11, 13, back to 11. We're going to have a 12 here, and then a 10, 12, 11. So. And then second time, ends like the lower one did. And then we're going to have back to this one. Okay, so our 2 different parts, one more time on that. So we do that thing twice, and then. Not as long on that one and back. And then we have this little change here. So that ends with 5, 4, 7, 5, 4, 6, 7 on the D. E minor 7 or kind of a raised 9. E sharp, E7 sharp 9 kind of chord. So we got 4 and 5 on the B up to the 7. And then 4, 5 on the G, back. And then 5, 4, 7, 5, 4, 6, 7. that chord. So that's 7, 6, 7, 8. Could be maybe where you don't do the 6. You might just do the kind of minor 7 part of that, but it could be that one too. And you could do the E, big E on that one if you wanted, since that is an E chord. Okay, so once again on this part. So let's look at the harmony guitar part for this thing down here. So this one's going to have that same type of thing, same frets, but on the smallest string. 4 or 5 in the second. Now this one's descending riff is going to be 5, 3, 7, 5, 4, 4, 5, and then that chord there. So we got one is. And the other one. So then we have some rhythm behind some solos. We have like a. So it's like this E minor to the B minor to the A minor, and then just E minor to B. So. Okay, then towards the end of the song, we have this new riff. So we got 7 on the D, and then G string, 4, 5, 7, 4 to 5 on the B. So, and then the next one is just right to the 5, and then same as the first one. Now this last one. So you got your 7, 4, 5, 7, and then you hit that 7 again on the G. So 7, 4, 5, and then 4, 5, 7 on these. So. Okay, that takes you into a drum solo. So then at the end of the song, we're going to have this. Okay, so we end with the 9, 8, 7, 8, 10. Kind of slides down. And then we got that Duane harmony part. So then we got a higher Duane part here. And then they line up for that same note there. So here we had 12 and 13 on the B. To the 15. And then 13, 14. And then. All right, this is going to be Hot Lanta by the Allman Brothers from Live at the Fillmore East. So it's got this organ riff that gets it going. Okay, and the guitar is going to end up doing that kind of later. It's kind of with an open A string and a little bit of a chord going. Okay, so you got, and when you hit that 7 there on the D string, you kind of got that A bass going with it. So 5, 7, 7, 7, and then 5 on the D string and back. And then it kind of goes 5, 7, 7, 5. So that kind of a thing. So the first one on the organ. So just single note type of thing. Okay, then we're gonna get into the first guitar melody. So we're gonna have this 5 down here. So we had little 5, and then 5 to 8, 8 to 5 on the second string. So now we got 7 on the D, 5, 7 on the G, and then we're hammering back in there 5, 7 on the D. So we got. Then that guitar is going to go up to the 10th fret. So we're going to jump to that bigger string to keep it with the same notes we were doing down here. So we got 10, 10, 13, 10 on the second. Go to that D string. And then we're going to go to that lower one. And then we have this 8 on the second string. So 8, 8, 10, 7. 8, 10, 7. And then 6. Bend that 8 up, and then 5. And then we got. Okay, so once again, all those riffs, we got. Okay, now we have a little bit of harmony stuff. So Duane Allman comes out with the same riff. But then he'll come over here to this 10. So he'll have a 10 on the G, 2 10s on the D, 12 on the A. And then they end up lining up again on those. Now his notes down here are going to be 5 twice, 7 to 4 then, and that's harmonizing with this other one. So it's 5, 5, 7, 4, and then 3, bend that 5 only a half step, go to the 2 there. So this is Duane's part. Okay, there's also a Duane thing where he comes in like the second time through the song. Now, instead of doing that one, he'll pop up here and he'll do this 12 up here. Okay, so he has 12 and then 15, 13. 14 on the D. And then 12 and 14 on the G. And he'll do those notes there, getting it in harmony. And then when the chord switches, he goes all the way to the 17. And that's typical of like the first riffs and stuff. So. And then of course his line was the 5. And the Dickey Betts line was the 8. And those chords on that part is going to be E minor 7, E flat minor 7, D minor 7, D flat or C sharp minor 7. So that's like using the middle finger on the big 12, and then we're going to mute the next string, the A string, and then we're going to have this on these next 12s on the D, G, and B string. Kind of a jazz jazzy way to do a minor 7 set of chords. Okay, then we get into a solo section. This is going to be like the organ solo, but it's going to be the same types of chords that you'll use for the guitar solos too. So it's going to be a A7 sharp 9. That's 12 on the A, then 11, then 12, then 13. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to switch to this one. 12, 12, 11, and 13. That's a D7. Back to the A7 sharp 9. Then we got those chords. Okay, so we got our chords there. A7, sharp 9, D7. And you could be doing your A minor pentatonic kind of scale, soloing over that stuff. Da-dee-do. We get into that descending chromatic chord progression. Okay, so I'm going to skip the Duane solo. We're going to look at some of the Dickey Betts solo. It's a lot slower. It's kind of easier to figure out. Okay, so this Dickey Betts solo is going to start after that riff. Okay, so the first thing we have is we wait one little half a beat and we go 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. So that was 5, 7 on the D, 4, 5, 7 on the G, and then we're going to start on that 4, 5, 7, 4, 5 on the second string. So together that was 1, 1, 1. Now here we're going to be on the second string, 4, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 7, 8. And then we're going to start moving up to the 10 even. So we're going to have 1, 1, 1. So once we get to the 10, we're going to go 10, 7, 8. So we got this little riff twice. 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 8, 10. Okay, so we got 1, 1, 1. So you have a little 10, 8, 10 after that. So we got. And then we're going to slide into this 9 to the 8. We're going to get into this longer riff with the 7, 8, 10 all the way to the 12 and 15 coming up. So we have that. And then 7, 8, 10, 12. 15 to 12 twice. So once again, that was. So that last part, we got this 15 bend, 12 to 15 on the second, and then 13, 15, 12 on the G string. So. Okay, then there's a little bit of another riff I want to show you here. This is like the next part of his solo. So it's 4, 5, 7 on the A, 4, 5, 7 back on that A. So does the same thing off that other string, and then he starts getting this little riff. So 4, 5, 4, 7, 5, 7. Okay, just kind of a weird Dickey Betts riff. And then they get back into that kind of. And then we have a new riff. We're going to go. So that was 8, 5, 8, 5, 7. And then we're going to go. So that was 7 on the G, 5 here on the B string, 5, 7 on the G, so that's 7 on the D. So it's, and then I'm gonna go. So that was 7, 5, 7, 5, 3, big 5, and then 5, 7 on the D. Okay, and the harmony part on that is, so 12, 10, 8, and then 10, 8. And then we got, so that's 5, 7, 8, 5, 5. So this is the Duane part. So da-dum, dum, da-dum, dee-dum. And then for those last two, to go with this, it's going to be 8 to 5. 8 on the second, and then 5. Now, there's a really cool part. It goes 1, 2, 3. And on the upbeats of those 1, 2, 3, this is how they get from the drum solo back into the top of the tune. It's going to have this little chord up here, 12 and 13. So it's like boom, boom, boom. 3 times, and then you're back to the. So it's like drum solo finishes, and it's like 1, 2, 3. And the other guy be like 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right, this is going to be Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers. Okay, so our first riffs, this thing is in 11/8. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's what's happening there. You got, it's like 3 sets of 6 notes, like 3 double pull-offs. D to C down here, that's your 10th and 11th note. Okay, let's try that. I'll give you a 3 count. 1, 2, 3. So that ends up going like 6 times. Now the other thing comes in, it waits for the 1. It's like 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's like 1, and you hit the 7, 5, 7. So right after the 1 you come in, it's like, and then it starts hitting on the 1. 1. Okay, so what that thing does is it goes rest, 7, 5, 7, do it again, and then do it twice down to the D to C down here on this 3rd string. So we got 1. Okay, so those things overlap there. The bass comes in first, and then that lower guitar comes in. Let's try that one again. 3 count. 1, 2, 3. Next part. Now our verse is going to be. So it sounds like to me on this is the original version, not the live version. It sounds like they're doing kind of the middle of these chords. So this is an A minor bar chord, but I'm kind of just doing the A string down to the B string. So 7, 7, 5, 5, 9, 9, 7, 7 for the B minor, 10, 10, 9, 8 for the C, back to the B minor. So let's try that. 3 count. 1, 2, 3. 6 for verse. And this is also the progression that you'd solo on. Do like an A minor pentatonic type thing. Then we're gonna go D. So it's like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Go to that D sharp right there. So when we get to the E, it's like 1 and then we do the sus where we do that 10th fret of the 2nd string. And back. And then we hit A. Now you could kind of hit this A up here for this riff instead of like a low chord. Either way you want, but. That ends on a C chord. So your riff here is A, 12th fret, A string. And then this other A, the octave, 14th fret, G string. Go 14, 12, and then go 14 on the D, 11, 12, and then 10 on the D. Back to that A, starts it over, so it's 12, 14, 12, 14, 11, 12, 10. After that note on the 3rd time, hit a C chord, and then we're going to have this riff. Okay, so we're bending the 7th fret of the G string, down and over to the 5. Doing that twice, and then pull off. Kind of a big bend on that 7 there, so. And then we have this little break where we're back into 11/8. Back to a verse. So that was 9, 11, 12 on the G, and then your little fast riff is 10 on the B, 12, 11 on the G, 12 on the D. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you got a verse. And after 8 times of that, you got the. Now there's a second guitar part going on the verse. It's going. Okay, so it's just 2, 4, 5. And then a little half step bend on the 4. Back down to the 4 there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is in like 12/8 now. Simplifies for the verse. Okay, then when we get into this, we got some lead riffs going on. So this last one of that would go 12 on the A to 10, 11, 12 on the D. So you got some little things like that in the D minor pentatonic. So we have like a. You got 10, 10, 10, bend the 13, 13, 10. You got a big bend and a little bend on that 13. 10, 10, 10, 13. Check out the tab on this kind of. And then it moves up to the E chord. You got. So you have a 12, 12. A couple times. Bend the 15 and then slide this 15 to 17 on the second. Little 15, few bends on that 17, and then this riff, the melody riff here is. that C chord. So that is 14, 12 on the B, and then 14 on the G, 9, 11 to 9. C chord. And then we have this riff to go with it. Okay, so a couple bends and off of the 10 to 8. And then kind of a quicker one. Big bend on that 10 there in the second. Now the harmony of the other part is. Back to the verse. So that was 10 on the second, 7, 8, 10, 8, 7 to 8 on the second string. So give you a 3 count. 1, 2, 3. Let's try that other one. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3. And watch out for sometimes when you're going to that riff, you might hear these pickup notes going into it. So like coming from the last part, it'd be like dee-dee-dim, dee-dee-dim, dee-dee-dim. Kind of into it that way. Look out for that. So later on, we have another going into the D section with some fills. We got. Okay, so typical kind of stuff. 10, 10. Couple bends. 13, 10. Little 13s. Bend that 15, and then some bends on that 17. Then you got your riff. C chord. Then you got that bend riff. Okay, then later on we have a new part we're gonna go. Okay, so there's a bunch of bends like that at the end. So what you have is, this is the A minor Dorian mode. It's a minor scale with a major 6. So we have 5, 7, 8. If you can just remember the scale, it'll help you play the riff without having to think too much, you know. 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8. And at the end, they add a chromatic, the 9, to get back to the A, the 10. And you're gonna bend this 10 on the second string, 12 on the third string. Unison thing. And there's always a big boom, and then you answer it, boom, answer it, boom. You do that 8 times. Now the higher riff to go along with that one is. Boom, boom. Okay, so it's the same scale. The notes we're going to use is 12th fret, A string, then 9, 10, 12, then 9, 11, 12. Then we're going to pop to the 14, go 12, 13, 15, 12, 14, 15, 16's the chromatic to the 17, the A. And your bend is going to be the little 17 with the 20 on the second string. Okay, so let's try both of those. Let's try this one. I'll give you a 3 count. 1, 2, 3. You get the picture. All right, let's try this other one. 12th fret, A string, 3 count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then the last thing is we get to the final chorus. That's basically your last kind of things. We got some little major pentatonic a little bit on the D there. Back into your bend in that 13. You got bends on the 17 again. So there's that last little fill until you get into your riff again. Three times, you get your C chord. Now there's a little thing here at the end where they go fives, open second string, 5, 5, 7, little chord right there, minor ninth chord, A.